The older that I get and the more dating that I've previously done, the more I realized that men and women are often asking completely different questions about dating and both think that the other side has it easier. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the 10 biggest questions that I've been asked about men and midlife dating, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion on it. So the first one is why do men struggle to communicate emotionally? Do they? Is that not just perceived by women because you don't understand how guys communicate to each other? Yes, we don't talk everything out. We will skirt around certain issues, maybe, but I don't think that we always lay the whole problem out and our honest opinions because we don't want to feel vulnerable, which is fine. I don't think there's a problem in that. I think it's seen as there's a problem that guys don't deep dive into their emotional state or their feelings. And when they do, it's also perceived by lots of women as being quite weak. They want a man to be a man. And I'm not massively into the whole macho bullshit of it all anyway. But I know like from my perspective that I need to be with the right person in the right circumstance to actually talk to them. And what I found with my friends as well is you have certain friends for different attributes. You'll have the friend that's great to go out with on a night out. You'll have the friend that's funny. You'll have the friend that's good looking. You'll have the friend that is talk to everyone. You'll have the friend that listens. And you'll have a friend that you know that you can't say anything serious to because they're gonna they're just gonna make everything into a joke, which sometimes is what you need. You have friends for different moods, different occasions, and friends bring different attributes. And with that, I found as you get older, that's why your friends change as well, because sometimes the attributes that they may have brought you in the past, you grow out of, or the role that you play in their life, you just get sick of. You know, you could always be like, the single friend or the always available friend, whichever it may be. And that may change because that may change for you in your life and you become something different. And you might just go different directions. It doesn't mean that you're not friends. It just means that maybe you're just not as close as you were before. But that happens with all relationships. Relationships are what they are, whether they're like a love relationship or whether they're a platonic relationship. Relationships change as you get older because you change. Guys are well known for slapping each other on the back and sort of just saying get on with it. But that's probably hereditary through thousands of years of men going to war and having to be strong and move forward and that does take a lot of time to pass. I also think that sometimes guys just want to deal with things on their own. They want to deal with things in their own way, and they don't always want someone else's advice on it. If I look back personally in my life as a man, when things have got the worst for me, I've sorted them out on my own. There's been other people around, but I've not had or chosen, I think, not had, I've not chosen to have anyone there with me to sort that out. I've wanted to do it on my own. And that could be why I'm an independent person. Obviously, I'm sure if you were to psychoanalyze me, that would go back to, childhood, et cetera, et cetera. But that's just how it is. And I think all guys are different and all of them want to just like talk in this emotional way now that, I listen to people in their 20s now talk to each other. And not so much in this country, but I've got to say, when I, when I watch a lot of the reality shows from the States, and I listen to them talk. They're saying a lot of words, and they're all the right words about empathize and I hear you and I understand and I see you and all that, but they don't look like they're bloody listening, and they don't. When you actually analyse what they've said, they don't actually say a lot. There's no real meaning to it. It's just a lot of words, but the actions are kind of just the same. Where sometimes I think for guys, they want to feel like they're supported with, and that just could be someone there. You know, they don't need to say anything. I think that's the difference. I think women want to speak it out. Women want to talk it out and get to the bottom of it and analyze it left, right, and center, and they get their friend's opinion, and their friends will then get their friend's opinion. Like, what always amazes me with women, and I always find this amazing, is that women have got the ability to empathize with a story that a woman will tell them about people that they don't know, and they'll be really invested into it. So they'll say, "Well, I've got a friend, and this is happening to them." Now, the person they're telling doesn't know any of these people, but yet they're invested in the story and they're giving opinions, which great, I guess. A guy telling a guy that, they don't care. It's the bottom line. They just don't care. They're not interested that your friend that they don't know is having issues and problems, because it doesn't affect them, and it's not in a selfish way. Before everyone bombards you, go, "Oh, that's why guys are idiots because they're bloody self." They're not. They're just interested in what's around them and what they can affect. And it's like, they realise that everyone's got problems, but if they don't know these people, they don't know these people. They know enough people. I think guys want to be supported in different ways to women sometimes. And it can be just a phone call going, "Hey, dear mate, you're right." And if that guy's ready to talk, they'll talk. They might just want to go out and have a drink and have a beer, or, whatever it may be. For a lot of guys, that might be, like for me, I go football on a Saturday. I've always done it. I'll go and play. I'll go in the bar afterwards. Don't necessarily talk about anything that's going on in my life, but you just feel connected to people. And I think that helps. So do men struggle emotionally, or do they just communicate in a completely different way? And women don't necessarily understand that. Next one. Why do men disappear after seeming interested? Because they realise they're not interested anymore. That's the bottom line. And I think a lot of these questions cut both ways. People can be really keen, first of all, but then they can see things in you that you won't know. You'll have no idea about. But with them, they hit a nerve and they just go, "No, not for me." And then while they're in that phase of, especially on dating apps, while they're in that phase of, "I'm not sure, I'm not sure about them. Yeah, I fancy them, or yeah, I find them interesting." If something else comes along, their attention will just switch. Simple as that. And it's not personal. It's not personal. So if you're finding that a guy disappears after seemingly interested, the simple answer is they're not interested anymore. Because if someone's interested in you, they'll show it. They'll make an effort. If you send them a message, it's that when I hear from people, "Oh, I'm terrible on my phone." Yeah, you're not terrible if it's something that you want to do. You're only terrible on your phone when you don't care. That's the bottom line, because women are just as bad. Women will meet a guy, and as soon as that guy texts, it's like, "Oh, on the phone. I'm texting straight away. I'm messaging back." But once they start to go off that guy, or the same guy with girls, then it'll be half hour later, and then it's an hour later, then it's a day later, and then it's a few days later. Then the messages there's no questions in the messages anymore. It's just replying to what you said. Like, "Yeah, how's your day going?" "Yeah, good." Where before, when you meet them, it's like, "Yeah, my day's really good, but I've been thinking about you. How are you doing? What are you up to? What do you want to do?" It all changes. So if you're getting to that stage where, why do men disappear after seeming interested? Simple answer: they're not interested anymore. Move on. And as soon as you move on with a lot of them, and and they're not getting interest, they might come back around to you again anyway. So sometimes that's the easiest thing is don't be so available. And that's not playing games. It's just don't waste your time on people that don't want your time. Straightforward and simple. Do men want love or just peace? Depends on the guy. If you're going on these dating apps and you're seeing a good-looking guy who's in shape, he's going to the gym, and he's got everything about him, dresses well or whatever it may be, that guy is doing that for a reason. And they're good reasons, completely good reasons. But that guy is looking after himself. He's going to the gym because he wants to look good, because he wants to see that in a partner. He's not necessarily looking for peace. He's looking for excitement. He's going to be looking for sex. He's going to be looking for eventually love, but he wants all those other things as well, because he still wants to enjoy his life. And maybe he's changed that. If you're looking at guys that look tired, they're not looking after themselves, and they look like they need a cuddle, they're probably looking for peace, because those poor guys have probably been through the mill, left, right, and centre one or two times and just had enough of it. And they haven't got around to looking after themselves yet. So those guys just want peace. That they just want to meet a nice woman who's going to look after them and that they can look after, and they can sit down on the couch and enjoy a conversation. But if you're looking at a guy who's, showing you what he's doing to look after himself, he's going to want that reflected in you as well. Doesn't mean he's shallow, doesn't mean that he's full of himself. He just wants to see things in other people that he finds important himself. And if one of those is keeping himself in shape and looking good, the chances are he's going to want that in someone else. That's going to be high on his priority list. He's going to want someone that looks good as well. So that guy, is he looking for peace? He probably wants a piece of something, yeah, but he still wants to live. He's still he's still at that point where he's still living. He's still going out there and enjoying his life, and, he's making an effort for himself to look good, so that can be reflected in someone else he meets. So yes, men want love, but they want love at different stages. Some guys just want peace, but they also want love. But some people, and I think this is women as well, they just had enough of it. They just had enough. They're just tired of all of it. Some people have still got the energy. Some people still love the chase. Some people still love that feeling of like putting on something nice and going out on a date, and they want to feel confident, in what they're wearing and how they look. And we'll talk about this later on, about how dating apps have affected relationships as well, because the dating app experience varies a lot for people. It really does. Outcomes similar, but the actual experience of them very different. Why do some men avoid commitment after divorce? I think when they've come out of a relationship, depending on what kind of relationship they've come out of, and this goes both ways, and I think it's very similar. If people have come out of a relationship where there's been a lack of sex, a lack of passion, they're going to want that first of all. They're going to want to find that in a partner. If they've come out of a relationship where they've not been seen, let's say, they're going to want that. They're going to crave the things that they've been missing. They're going to look for those things in their next partner. But their next partner might be 15 women along. It might be 15 guys along. They might want to just get a lot of stuff out of their system first. I know with a lot of women that come out of divorces, they go through a stage of dating a load of young guys. Good for you. Why not? Men do it. Brilliant. Get it out of your system if you feel that you need to. Some other women will go after something that they've always wanted, and they should have gone after in the first place, but they settled for something different for different reasons. And none of this is bad, guys. I'm not saying this and also it's just my opinion, but none of this is bad. It's just how we are. We're different as people, and it may offend some people, but as I see it, that's how it is. So what can you, what can you do? You can skirt around the subjects, and you can give everything like flowery names, and it doesn't make the answer any different. It just might make it easier for you to hear it, but the nuts and bolts of it will still be the same. So after divorce, I think if you've been through where, it's stressful divorce as well. I've not been through divorce, but I've got friends that have, men and women, and for both sides, it's stressful. And both sides, it becomes resentment. And when there's kids involved, it's so bad. I'm a strong believer that I think before you get married, you should write up a contract of what you do when you break up. Not like I guess it is a prenup to a certain degree, but agree everything when you love each other for when you don't. Do you know what I mean? Because when you stop loving someone, and if someone's cheated, there's resentment, and there's an element of you want a little bit of revenge as well. So your judgment is clouded, and it's, you're so full of rage sometimes for each other, and then things get dragged up. That if you just had a contract in place that at the end of it, that you decided when you were, both in love with each other, and you wanted the best for each other if anything happened, it's all sorted. It's already done. It's already sealed. You can't do anything out about it. You save a fucking fortune on lawyers, so that will help you as well. So I don't think men are avoiding commitment after divorce. They just need, same as women, just need time to be ready to commit to something again. That's all. Some people come out of relationships where there's been no commitment at all by anyone. So they're ready to jump into something in a great way that has got commitment. Someone that does go, I want to be with you. You know, you're the one I want to be with. Because they could have been in a relationship where they were like 15th on the list behind, a football team, a night out with the boys, the job, whatever it may be. They found themselves way down the list, and they just want to be a bit higher on that list for someone. So they may be ready to jump into that straight away because that's what they were missing. Why do men seem lonely but still avoid relationships? Okay, there's a massive difference between being lonely and being unhappy. And given the choice, anyone that's been there, you'll choose lonely every time. Because when you're unhappy, that's a whole different kind of loneliness. And that's the worst kind of loneliness. Being in a relationship where you're unhappy because you are alone, but you're alone with someone. That sounds weird, but those of you out there will know exactly what I mean. So given the choice, men are going to choose lonely every time. Doesn't mean they're avoiding a relationship. They're just looking for the right one. That's the only thing. And if you feel like they're avoiding a relationship with you, say you're with a guy and he's not committing, and then you're going, he just wants to see me a couple of times a week and he doesn't want to commit. I want about and moving in with each other, and he's avoiding it. He doesn't want to. That's the bottom line. He does not want to. Doesn't mean that he doesn't want to be with you. Doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that he wants to break up with you, not see you. He just doesn't want to do it yet. And your decision is, if that's good for you, great. If it's not good for you, no. We all have a choice in these things, and it's whether it suits your lifestyle or not, and whether you can understand it. You may not like it. Understanding it is completely different. And I can empathize with that. When you date someone with kids, if you may not like a lot of things, but as long as you understand them, it makes a world of difference, an absolute world of difference, because you understand why decisions are made. They may not be good for you. They may not suit your timetable or what you want. But ultimately, in relationships, we all are kind of selfish, which we should be, because we want out of it what we want out of it. And if you're not getting what you want out of it, it's not a relationship, is it? It's a one-way street. So, you know, I don't think men avoid relationships. And if they are avoiding it, it's because they don't want one. They've been married. They've done that. They've been on a divorce. They just may want a different kind of relationship. They may want an independent relationship where, they're with you, but they may be on their own 2 or 3 times a week, or have their own house and they don't want to live with you. Loads of women are like that now. It's about finding people, like we said at the beginning, that reflect your values and what you want. And it doesn't mean it's always going to be that way either. Things change in terms of, they may get to a stage later on where they go, do you know what? I think I'm ready to be with you more, or live together, or always be in the same place together, just not necessarily one house. We might have two houses, your house, my house, but we still live together. Do men care about emotional connection as much as women? Yes, they do, but it comes after a lot of other things for them as well. They need to be sexually attracted to a woman, physically attracted to a woman. And you may hear different things, but that's very high on their list. They want you to be funny. They want you to be outgoing. They want all these things. But the very first thing is going to be visual. And do they find you? Do they want to get you in bed? They want to know that first. They want that attraction. Once that happens, there needs to be other stuff as well. If there's not other stuff that attracts them, then they're going to go. And then you're going to think, he just wanted to sleep with me. Yes, he did just want to sleep with you, but he didn't find anything else after that in you for him. Doesn't mean there's not anything in you for someone else. It just means for him, he didn't know that. Women are different. Women want to know there's something there before they commit. Men can find someone attractive, sleep with them, and then go from there, finding out about that person. And if that person then they find, doesn't match up to certain things, and this is, this is not on the first date always. This is, you know, 3 or 4 dates into it, let's say, not for everyone, but let's say it's not going to be a calculated thing that women always think that the guys just going, I just want to sleep with her and I'm going to go. It's not that. They want to see what sexual compatibility is like. They want to see if you're sexually connected, and if you're not, then it could be something as simple as, I want to leave the light on. And the other person might go, that could be it. It could be something as stupid as stupid as that. And it's guys want to find that out in women. And I do think women want to find this out in guys. It's just not all people. The emotional connection for guys will come after. The only time that it's different is because, first and foremost, guys need to fancy a woman. Now, I have been in situations where I've fingered a person in particular, actually, that I've dated someone that when I first met them had no attraction to whatsoever. But I became attracted to them after knowing them. And then I fancied them. But if I'd have seen them on a night out for 5, 10 minutes or spoke to them in the bar, nothing would have happened at all. It was only because I happened to be around this person over a period of time that I got to know this person more. So that's probably why people, when they work with each other, that's where they meet a lot of their partners, because they get to know people that when you're meeting people in social dating apps or going out, wherever it may be, you're not getting the chance. You're not committing, like, let's spend 2 weeks with each other and see what happens. It's like, we're going to go out for a coffee, which you've got to do. I've been a massive advocate of that, just have a coffee. But you're literally cramming a person into 20 minutes. So it is going to be about physical attraction in that 20 minutes and like the surface level things that you want to know about a person: voice, habits, general, how they carry themselves, how you come across, and to see whether there's any spark between you. So all that matters to a guy. Emotional connection will come after. And then that's what will give it longevity. If they're finding you funny, if they find you, that you match up with their morals in their life, and the same for you as well. Why do men stay on dating apps if they hate them? Because sometimes for a lot of people, what other choice have they got? If they're not going out, if they haven't got a group of friends that are out regularly and socializing, in places where you can meet single people as well. That's different. If they're just going out with a bunch of friends that are going around each other's house having dinner parties all the time, they're not meeting anyone unless someone brings a single friend along. And then that's the worst thing. If you're the only two single people there, I've had that before, where people think, "Oh, he's single, she's single," and it's usually women that do this as well. "Oh, yeah, they'll like them." You just feel like you're being pushed into something. Doesn't mean that you won't get on and it won't work. It just feels like everyone's going, "Oh, that'd be nice because that'd be a nice little group." Doesn't work like that. You know, you've both got to fancy each other. And if you get in them situations, it can be the worst thing sometimes because then you don't want to come across as a wally and being rude. So you talk to the person and then they're kind of thinking, oh, this is good because all our friends get on. And you're thinking, no, this is not good because I'm not feeling this. So people stay on dating apps because opportunity. It's giving them opportunity. Otherwise, when are they going to meet people? They're not meeting people sitting in their front room. So what other choice do they have? And that's why people do it in spells because they go on it and just can't do it anymore, come off it, and then give themselves 2 or 3 weeks and go, right, okay, let's have another crack then. And then they'll do it again for another 2 or 3 weeks. So that's why men stay on dating apps if they hate them. Are men intimidated by an independent woman? Some are, some can be. Some want to be the alpha in the relationship. Some are happy to be challenged. Some guys, I actually find an independent woman really attractive. I really like it because they've got their own life going on, and I'm an independent person. So I actually do like that. I like a woman that contributes. I've been out with women that have, have been very successful, and they treat you really well. It makes a massive change sometimes, and it's I think for me, if a woman is independent and doesn't want to be looked after, I find women that want to be looked after a bit of a turn off, if I'm being honest, for me personally, because it just it feels really needy. Where women that are independent, they don't need you, they want you. There's a difference. You're not there to satisfy certain criteria. You're there because they like you. They find you funny or they fancy you or whatever it may be. And maybe that's an ego thing. But, you know, I want to feel like someone wants me there. I remember a relationship in my 20s where I was with a great girl and she wanted to get married. But I just felt like she wanted to get married. I didn't feel like she wanted to marry me. I just felt like I was there in a space and time that in her head, she thought that's when she wanted to get married. And I could have been anyone. I think people want to feel wanted for them, for what they bring to relationship. And some people want people in a relationship because they make their life lucrative. They give them a good lifestyle, and that's why they want them. Other people want people because they make them laugh. Other people want people because they're really hot. We're all different. We're all completely different. But not all men are intimidated by independent women. But to the same extent, you know, independent women, are they intimidated by an independent man? Probably not. They probably recognize success and admire it in someone else, but that is right across the board. But a lot of guys will be intimidated by an independent woman because their key card may be what they bring to a relationship. And if what they've brought to a relationship before, let's say, is a flash car, flash holidays, and a big house, and this woman goes, "Yeah, I don't need any of that. What else you got?" That could be them done. It could be like, "Yeah, I ain't got anything else." That's kind of worked for me over the years. I turn up in a Porsche. I'll take you back to where I live, and I'll take you to Barbados for a couple of weeks. That kind of cracks it. And once the woman goes, "Yeah, but I've got a nice car and I've got a really nice house, and I'm sick of Barbados," make me laugh. Yeah, that's where I come in. No, but that's it works the same way. Okay. Why do men seem more emotionally unavailable in midlife? They're not. More, I think men in midlife just know what they want a bit more. They've done their 20s and 30s where they've had a broad spectrum of different relationships, what they want. They could have been in a long relationship where they know what they want or know what they don't want equally as important. So it's not that they're emotionally unavailable. Of course they're available. They're single. If they're single, they're available. Then, otherwise they go join the priesthood. I don't know. But they're available for the right person. They're emotionally available for the right person. If they're not emotionally available to you, that's because they don't want to be with you. If they're not ready for a relationship, that's because they're working other stuff out. They may not tell you about us, tell you about it. They may not want to sit down and tell you all about their life. Let's put it this way. You're going out on a date, girls, women, all of you. You're going out on a date with a guy. That guy, you say to that guy, so tell me about your last relationship. Do you want the guy that goes, we loved each other, we just weren't right for each other, didn't work out? Or do you want the guy that 2 hours later, when you're ordering dessert and thinking, God, what can I get out? I need to get out of here. While he's told you about the divorce, the kids, what she said, you're going to run a mile from that guy anyway. He's emotionally available. He's poured his heart out all across the table for the last hour and a half. How's that going to make you feel? Is that the guy you're going to want? Probably not. So all this, are men emotionally available? You can't dictate about how emotionally available you want them. It's like you want them emotionally available. We just don't want to hear about all of it because you don't want to constantly hear about the ex-wife, the ex-girlfriend, and everything else because you want to look forward. So it's a balance of you want people to be emotionally available at the same time. You don't always want to hear about it. What are men actually looking for now? What are we all looking for now? I think men still want something that they thought about growing up with. And I think this comes from school days about they want a girl on their arm that when they walk into a room, everyone is going to turn around and go, that's what guys still want. They still want to impress their friends with the woman that they're with. That's surface level stuff. They also want a woman that excites them, challenges them, makes them laugh, and has got their back. Do men want someone that's going to nag them, shout at them, criticize them? No, they definitely don't want that. But does anyone want that? Women, do you want that? Do you want someone that's going to constantly criticize you, tell you not doing this, not doing that, and not make you feel special? I think we've got similarities, men and women, that we want. They just come in different orders. I think the things are still the same. They just come at different places. That's all sometimes. So men are still looking for what they've always wanted, their version of happiness, their version of love. And it may not match up with your version of love, but you might find things that you share in common. I honestly think most men in midlife still chasing excitement. Some are chasing peace, but that's because they've lost their energy to chase the excitement. And they're probably the guys that are just, you know, they've not looked after themselves. And this brings me lastly to the dating apps. From the women that I know and I've met in friends or in dating apps, and the same with guys as well. When I've spoke to a really attractive woman or a really good looking guy, they don't struggle on dating apps. They don't. They don't find them hard. They don't find, you know, people not getting back to them. They can cherry pick exactly who they want. After that, the experience is the same. They're still finding that people lie and all the other stories. But most of the women that I've met through social media, in terms of chatting to, when you say, if they're good looking people, they don't struggle on dating apps. That's the top and the bottom of it. And it's a harsh reality, but that's because dating apps are visual. And that's why they don't struggle, because people aren't swiping past them. Most of the time, people are swiping on them. So when they pick up their phone, they're choosing from 30 or 40 people and they can cherry pick people, and they're going to probably pick the people that represent what they're looking for. The other people that find dating apps harder, and this is the hardest thing, is the people that are like them, they're swiping past as well, and vice versa. They're not swiping on each other because they don't actually want those people visually. They might get on great with those people if if they work with them, because they might find out that that guy is a really good guy. Yeah, he's kind, he's considerate, and he'll do anything for you. But in a picture, you'll see that he's maybe not tall enough, maybe overweight, lost his hair, doesn't seem to have a lot going for him. And then you've got to ask yourself the question, what are you actually looking for then? You can't have we can't have it both ways, every way. We can't be throwing out to people you're emotionally not available and blah 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 when we all are on dating apps in the same people. It's the good looking ones that we're after. And the ones that could match up with us perfectly, we're swiping past. And men and women both doing this. We're all doing it because we're not in a situation where we can get to know a person. And a bio doesn't cut it. A bio doesn't cut it. A few words could be anything. It could be nonsense. It could be, most of the time it's going to be from Chat GBT or, AI, saying what can I say that's going to impress people? It's going to be visual, guys, and we're not giving each other enough chance to get to know each other. And there's no way around that. That's the top and the bottom of it. There's just no way around that. You've got to be in a place where you're going to speak to someone long enough to get to know them over a period of weeks. And when we're older, when do we get to do that? We don't. So I hope a lot of these things have resonated with you to understand men a bit better. And I'm sure men will agree with me on a lot of the things. We may not be as open to being honest with our feelings, but sometimes, do people want to be that honest with each other without hurting each other's feelings? That's why you get sort of this ghosting on dating apps. People don't want to be honest because fundamentally, people don't want to hurt each other. They really don't. I've always said this. Fundamentally, I think people are good deep down and they don't want to hurt people's feelings. So if they can avoid hurting people's feelings directly, they will do. And that's easier just to ignore someone. Maybe not the right thing. I get it. But to them, it's the easiest way. And I think if we accept ghosting as a no, you're not getting a reason. I just don't want to see you, which is hard to take. And that that takes a long time to get to. I realize that. But it makes your life easier when you do. If you don't hear from someone, don't worry. People will give you time when they want to give you their time. If they're not giving you their time, you've got all the answers that you need. Thank you for listening today. Give me your feedback, guys. Give me any questions that you might have on all of these. I really appreciate you following. Make sure you do click the button, follow, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you like. Take care, guys. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.